In the headlines, a significant Cuba team involved in a re-roofing project at Dominica State College. Local Rastafarian community wants CARICOM heads to pave the way for hassle-free cannabis use. And a recommendation that a migration policy could help solve Dominica's brain drain in the health sector. I am Andrea Lee with the Channel 5 News. Back with the details after this.
Rudolph Thomas Enterprise in Portsmouth, your suppliers of building materials and hardware products. Over 20 years experience in the business. Rudolph Thomas has lumber and plywood, galvanized and fence pipe. Check out Rudolph Thomas for ceramic and vinyl floor and wall tiles, nails, nuts and bolts, paint and painting supplies. And check out their line of electrical and hand tools. Go now to Rudolph Thomas on 1240 Bay Street in Portsmouth.
L'année signe tout partout. Attention si vous êtes homme et bien femme. Visitez place santé pour examiner corps. Ça c'est un nid pour yo ouais si l'année pièce moun au lion qui ni maladie TB et bien maladie sexuelle. En compagnie moun qui ni maladie HIV pe ni TB aussi. Savent qui l'année guérison pour TB. Ou ça vivre en bonne santé même si ou ni maladie HIV. Parlez by docteur. Prends responsabilité. Aider du bout de sime maladie TB et HIV. Ou agir tout le monde pour examiner corps yo.
Thank you for staying with us. First up, a brother from the House of Nyabingi is making a case for CARICOM heads of government to take a bold approach towards putting systems in place to facilitate the unrestricted use of marijuana. Idona Jean-Baptiste has that story.
Businessman Imani Shaw says Caribbean states should have taken initiative in discussions on the plant's use and not simply follow the lead of the U.S.
We asked them, that it must be put on the table, the agenda of the CARICOM heads, so that, yes, together we can take one decision, one Caribbean decision regarding the use of the herb, and be fearless in that approach, be bold, not be afraid of the powers that be, because it's the powers that be who are the first ones to call the herb illegal. They want to create the stigma on herbs, so that it can be of less, we use it less, and we more depend on what they give unto us in terms of the rapid development of modern science now, so pushing the herbs in the background.
Shaw prefers, though, to stay away from advocating for legalization of marijuana.
As Rastafarian in the House of Nyabingi, we don't fight for legal or illegal, because we cannot. If we do that, we actually perpetuating the same theory that they have, calling a plant illegal. Who gives them the right to call the plant illegal? So we're pursuing it on that level, and we'll ask the CARICOM heads of government to take that fearless approach. Finally, we feel that we have been vindicated, because in the thoughts that we had all the time, that today the whole world is now talking and asking themselves questions, whether to be legal, whether to decriminalize or not, whether to have whatever amongst. But for us as Rastafari, we say, our position is that we ask the authorities to leave us alone and don't trouble us when it comes to herbs.
While the government of Antigua is preparing to go to Parliament later this year to pass laws allowing the growing, harvesting, processing and sale of medical marijuana, Dominica and other OECS states are lagging behind. Shaw says the House of Nyabingi has to lead discussions regarding the use of marijuana for especially the Rastafarian community.
As the Prime Minister quite rightly said, he has approached us and he must approach us, and anybody who wants to have some whatever solution, whatever lasting solution that must come out of the herbs, they got to involve I as the House of Nyabingi as Rastafari, because that has been our sacrament for years. We're not asking people to smoke herbs, you know what I mean? We're just asking that the herbs be seen for the importance that it has, you see? But we're not telling people, well, come and smoke herbs, you know what I mean? That is part of our kind of sacrament, and I mean, we don't force it on anybody, you see? But even the smoking of herbs does have its benefits as well.
In other top stories, 9 months after it was seriously impacted by Hurricane Maria, roof restoration work has started on the Dominica State College. Julian Morris tells us more.
President of the State College, Dr. Donald Peters, who is also Ambassador at Large for Education, has confirmed to Channel 5 News that the project is underway. Channel 5 News can tell you that the re-roofing project involves multiple buildings at the State College. We can also inform you that the undertaking is a collaborative one, which brings together the expertise of the People's Republic of China, the UNDP, Venezuela, and Cuba. 80 skilled Cuban workers are involved in the repair works, which are expected to be completed in time for the start of the new semester. The post-disaster needs assessment concluded that Hurricane Maria resulted in total damage of 2.51 billion EC dollars, that's 931 million US dollars, and losses of 1.03 billion EC. This amounts to 226% of the 2016 gross domestic product, or GDP. The identified recovery needs for reconstruction and resilience interventions incorporating the principle of Build Back Better, where possible, amounts to $3.69 billion.
In other developments, the Government Information Service has confirmed that Dominica's Prime Minister is currently on an official visit to Suriname to hold talks with the Suriname's president. Here again is Julian Morris.
According to the Government Information Service, Prime Minister Skerrit will discuss matters relating to agriculture, tourism and trade and climate resilience with the Surinamese president. The Dominica delegation, which includes Minister for the Environment, Climate Resilience, Disaster Management and Urban Renewal, Joseph Isaac, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Dr. Reginald Thomas, and Director of Forestry, Minchinton Burton, will visit agricultural holdings and observe farming practices in rice and banana cultivation, as well as the production of coconut oil. The two leaders are expected to enter into a memorandum of understanding aimed at strengthening and deepening bilateral relations between their two countries. While in Suriname, Prime Minister Skerrit will also address the Conference on Theology in the Caribbean today. The Prime Minister was invited as a feature speaker against the background of his stated goal to make Dominica the first climate-resilient nation in the world. This visit is expected to serve as an opportunity for the Prime Minister to share his vision for Dominica and the region. The visit might also help galvanize further support and action towards improved attitudes to climate change in our region.
On the health scene, lead consultant on a PAHO WHO study on the migration of health workers from the region is suggesting a policy be put in place to make it more difficult for health workers to leave the region. Justin Peer was on island recently conducting the latest study of the Pan American Health Organization PAHO and World Health Organization WHO on the migration of health workers from the Caribbean. Peer says the lack of a migration policy makes it easy for recruitment agencies to enlist health workers to leave the region.
Any recruitment agency can just come into these countries and just take their healthcare workers, and no one can do anything about it. And one of the reasons is that there is no migration policies in any of the countries in the OACS. So there is no policy based on migration. How many persons you want in your country? How many persons you want to leave? What are some of the migration protocols? There's nothing. And I think that this study will also highlight that. And we want to ensure that most of the governments within the region set up effective migration policy, and also set up effective labor policy, so that when the recruitment agency comes in, at least they will obviously report to maybe the Ministry of Labor or some agency within the government, so that they can have some sort of control as to what type of, how many human resource persons you take from their country.
This most recent study is being conducted as a result of the already evident impact of the migration of health workers from the region.
When the World Health Organization did the release in the 2013, they found out that there will be a global shortage of healthcare workers throughout the world. And when we started looking at their data, we found out that there was a spike. A lot of persons who in the healthcare sector from the region that are leaving to go to North America, and in some countries already many persons are leaving. In fact, a lot of the ICU nurses and other critical care nurses have all gone. In some countries, some of the ICU units in hospitals, some of them are very, very few persons working there. Okay. So it is already having an effect, and if nothing is done about it, it will affect the workforce of most of these Caribbean countries.
The PAHO WHO study is being conducted in 17 Caribbean countries. To date, over 200 health workers have been interviewed for this project. You are watching the Channel 5 News. Stay tuned for more after the break.
M&J Covering is the producer of designed galvanized and galvalume in Dominica. They design to your specifications, color and length, 4 styles of galvanized and galvalume pre-painted roofing sheets as requested, and supply all your galvalume accessories. M&J Covering helps you control spending and reduce waste. At M&J Covering, they are also equipped to build your roof to precise standards anywhere on island. So come to M&J Covering at 1 Mile in Portsmouth or call 445-5001 275-5003 today.
Welcome back. Head of Export Promotion and Development of Dexia, Lloyd Pascal, says a cocoa and coconut cluster program will seek to improve packaging and labeling standards. Cocoa and coconut have been identified as lucrative crops. Pascal says the Dominica Export and Import Agency has been helping to increase the capacity of processors of cocoa and coconut.
I mentioned packaging and labeling, and that is one area that a lot of our businesses need to improve on, right? There's also the area of product development, which I mentioned. There's innovation. So innovation can mean innovation in terms of the product itself or your process. So all of those areas are areas that we can use to improve what the business sectors are doing.
In most instances, with the processing of coconut oil, Pascal says standards are not being met.
There are a number of people, as you mentioned, who make coconut oil. But a lot of them do their own formulations. They don't follow necessarily a protocol or a particular standard in terms of doing the coconut oil. And that's the same thing for a number of our other producers. They don't necessarily follow standards. A lot of them don't follow standards. And so the standards are going to be very important for us to highlight what is happening from our end in Dominica to be more competitive, to access markets, to meet the market requirements, and also to have a better product on the marketplace that we can generate greater foreign exchange.
It has been a challenge, Pascal recognized, to control cottage industry processes.
It's a challenge for all of them because even the bigger businesses, because a lot of our SMEs are family-owned businesses, and they run the show. I mean, they do everything, and it's sometimes very difficult to get them to change their modus operandi. We try to educate people to show them the benefits of changing, the benefits of adopting standards, the benefits of changing their practices, the benefits of taking on or changing their procedures to meet market demands.
And the board member of the Respite Center in Portsmouth is looking to have the property vacated and back to its official function by the first week in July. The Respite Center, which caters to special needs children in the north of the country, was opened almost 2 years ago but has been non-functional since Hurricane Maria. 6 families in the Portsmouth area sought refuge at the building during the hurricane, and 3 families are still resident there. Director of Parents Advocating for the Inclusion of Children with Disabilities in Society, PASIS, Ainsworth Irish, says families still occupying the facility pose a problem to the special needs children who require care and attention.
Just recently, as last week, had a little discussion informal with the new Minister of Social Services, that's Dr. Darrow. And Dr. Darrow is trying his best through his office to assist us in having things worked out so that the families can move to another area. And we are hoping that at least by July 5th, the people should vacate the area so that we can resume our operation. Sometime later this week, I intend to go down to Portsmouth and have discussions with the families there and let them know of the situation.
Irish explained that some of the 8 employees of the institution have gotten temporary jobs elsewhere, but they are still anxious to return to their permanent job at the Respite Center.
Some of them have gotten little temporary jobs, but obviously what you want is something sustainable. And they have been having little discussions. We've been talking to them, and and I mean, like anything else, they would like to be fully employed, but they can understand the circumstances. We cannot just send the people on the streets and say we want to reopen. We are concerned about the center not being operational in the sense that the children are denied the opportunity. But nevertheless, I'm very hopeful that before long something will come up.
Irish says the non-functioning center is also hindering parents from successfully pursuing job opportunities.
Having the center was to sort of empower the parents so that they could be gainfully employed, because some of the parents, because of the severity of the challenges of the children, they had to stay home, and they were very happy that the center opened so they could be gainfully employed. So that is a bit of a drawback. In fact, I know a school teacher, for instance, who has a son there, and she's at a school, and then it's posing a problem because right now to get a babysitter, to customize, to get used to working with that child, it's going to be a bit of a, some difficulty. But certainly, we're trying to address that situation, and I can only hope before long, as I indicated, the center would be open.
15 children were being cared for at the Respite Center before Hurricane Maria struck. To end the news, the headlines again. A significant Cuba team involved in a re-roofing project at Dominica State College. Local Rastafari community wants CARICOM heads to pave the way for hassle-free cannabis use. And a recommendation that a migration policy could help solve Dominica's brain drain in the health sector. Feel free to contact us at news@marpin2k4.com. You can also access our past newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire production team, I am Andrea Lee, and to all of our viewers around the world, thank you so much for watching. Join us tomorrow.